Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen podcast by Eastmans. Now your host, Todd Helms.
This episode's brought to you by Federal Premium. Guys, I've been shooting Federal shot shells for a really long time. You know, whenever I had to scratch up money from whatever chores I had to do and jobs I had to do when I was a kid, I always grabbed a box of Federal Premium. It worked for me back then, and it still works for me today. Everything from the TSS heavyweight black cloud loads to the traditional black cloud loads to the blue box speed shock and now the new heavy bismuth loads. Federal's got a load out there for your price point, your budget, and your level of performance that you're looking for. So, be like me, reach for Federal. That is my unashamed opinion.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen podcast. As you can see, I am solo today. We are about 2 weeks into our duck season, first split of our duck season here in Wyoming, and I thought I'd sit down and give you a little update. I've done a few hunts, as you guys know, because of my responsibilities on the Eastmans Hunting Journal side of things as the editor. Have a lot of big game focus going on this time of year, myself included, but I have been able to slip away, and I'm just going to give you a little walkthrough on that hunt and kind of a flyway report. And then, you know, there's some things that have been weighing heavy on my heart that I've been seeing hit social media over the last couple of weeks that we need to talk about. I want to address them, and it has to do with people being buttheads out there in the field, ruining each other's hunts, just basically a lack of ethics, a lack of morals that I'm seeing, and I want to talk about it. I've been there, I've been through it, probably done some of it, been guilty of it myself in the past when I was young and dumb, and I'm just gonna call it out and kind of give a public service announcement, but. Yeah, before I do any of that stuff, guys, make sure that you're giving us reviews and that you're subscribing to this channel, subscribing to the podcast. Maybe put us on automatic download. That really drives the algorithm in our favor, and it helps us bring more content to you in the form of podcasts, in the form of social media, in the form of YouTube. The more you guys like it, the more you share it, the more you recommend it, the better ratings that you give us, the better traffic we get, and the more cool stuff we can do for you. So I would, do me a solid, man. Drop down, give me a review. Tell somebody about this. Maybe send them a link to this podcast or something else that you like. And you can shoot me a question at todd.helms@eastmans.com. And tell me what you want to hear on this podcast. Maybe you have questions. Maybe you have comments. Maybe you have a guest that you want me to track down. And I will do my best to accommodate all of those things. I do have some pretty cool guests coming up, but I wanted to take a minute today and just kind of bring you up to speed in this first full week of October, and give you a heads up on what we've got going on, what I'm seeing in my neck of the woods, flyway report-wise, and then, take care of some housekeeping, some kind of community housekeeping things. So, huge shout-out to our partners at Weatherby, Federal Premium, Mountain Seasonings, Leupold Optics, and Kryptek. Guys, these are the companies that help us bring content to you, and I couldn't do what I do without them. And one of the things that I'm really proud of about the partners that we have is I truly am a fan of their products. I have been using, in the case of Federal and Leupold, I've been using their equipment for decades. I have been shooting Weatherby rifles and shotguns for a really long time, and I believe in those products. I believe in the camo that Kryptek has, guys, and I believe and love and enjoy all the products that High Mountain Seasonings produces, and I love that because I can give them an honest review, I can give them an honest thumbs up and recommend things to you guys knowing that you're probably going to love the product as well. So that's some housekeeping, some bills paid, if you will. Let's jump into the meat and potatoes of this. All right, first full week in October here in Wyoming. And there's usually, guys, it's usually like a local bird scenario for us. Unless we get a big push of early weather from the north, we get a bunch of snow, which we did late last weekend in particular. Rained all weekend long, and when the cloud cover lifted on Tuesday, snow cover was solid down to about 7,000 feet, 7,500 feet. As you can expect, that has pushed birds into the northern Rocky Mountain states, the northern end of the Central Flyway. So think Montana, northern Wyoming, North Dakota. I've been out and about. I've also been talking to some buddies who have been getting after it, and we are seeing good numbers of birds, especially for this time of the year. It's super encouraging, and it's super fun to have birds to work for this next few days of our split. So if you're looking at hunts, you're looking at maybe getting away and making a run to North Dakota or Montana, there's going to be some birds to play with, guys. I wouldn't say numbers-wise like there will be when the big weather hits up north, but we're supposed to get more rain, more snow, more nasty this coming weekend into next week, and we're sitting at the 9th of October right now, so depending on when you hear this, it could be push birds out of our area and even further down. Yeah, man, you guys in northern Colorado, Kansas, you might be looking at some early migration stuff going on. So keep that in mind. I made the drive up to Billings, Montana this morning to take my wife to the airport. And on my way home, kind of had an eye going. And what I saw was a nice little influx of molt migrator Canadas. Not a ton of ducks that I saw. Some mallards flying around, hitting grain fields right at daylight, but quite a few geese. And so, like I said, not the numbers that we'll see in the coming months, but for the first part of the season, for you Western guys that like to swing both ways, like to big game hunt and waterfowl hunt, is what I meant by that. There's some opportunity out there. I'm probably going to chase elk this weekend. At least on Saturday, we've got bad weather coming in starting Saturday night, which makes getting around in the mountains tough. Depending on what we end up with, I may jump in the duck blind on Sunday morning before church. There's a high likelihood of that. Get Hondo some more work and make the most of these early flights that are pushing through. Back to that, opening day 2025 first split was September 27th, and I didn't have a lot going on. The weather was really mild, really nice, and I hadn't had time to scout any local water, any local ponds, because usually this time of year, where we are, your best waterfowling is going to take place on ponds and reservoirs and stock tanks, things like that. But I thought, you know what? I got to brush in blinds for later this year. I got to haul decoys anyway. Let's just knock that out. We'll scout while we go. And I popped over the hill into a spot. You guys have, if you've watched the Wingmen YouTube channel, any of our hunts, you've seen us duck hunt this spot quite a bit. And lo and behold, there was a nice little pocket of mallards and teal down there. And I thought, perfect. Another thing that kind of made me want to hunt that spot was right now harvest for our crops is just beginning. So the farmers aren't using hardly any irrigation water. So most of the irrigation water is being pumped back into the river. And so the river levels have come up. The river level has risen, and it puts water in places that have been dry all summer for the last several months and have grown vegetation. It floods it, so it creates kind of moist soil environments. It kind of creates more eddies and little shallow water pockets that the ducks really like to feed in. And so I popped over the hill and looked down, and I thought, yeah, that's worth it. Let's go. So I loaded up the fam, got the fam up early the next morning. My wife did not want to shoot, but both of my daughters did. So we got Hondo, we got my oldest daughter, my middle daughter, and then my son and my wife. We got donuts, coffee, man, you name it. It was kind of like the first trip of the year. And we went down, and I've got my oldest daughter, 10 years old. She's shooting a semi-automatic 20 gauge and shooting just Federal speed shock. I wish I could have found some 2 3/4 inch 4s for her, but we settled with 3-inch 4s. She didn't notice the recoil at all. And then I had my youngest shooting a little break action 410 with Federal speed shock 3-inch, I think number 6s. And the goal was to try to get them a duck or a goose, whatever. And obviously I knew I was going to have to land birds in the decoys and try to let them water swat them, which that's, 10 and 8, 10-year-old and 8-year-old. I'm fine with water swatting. Let's do it. And, trying to get them their first ducks. And, man, it was way better hunting, guys, than I thought it was going to be. I set a very loose spread of, maybe a dozen decoys. I've tried to mimic. I've talked about this in the past. You mimic what the birds are doing with your decoy setup. And I mimicked exactly what I had seen the day before. And from right before shooting light until about 10 o'clock in the morning, we had pretty steady action. I did not do a lot of shooting, but I will say that for the first trip, and I'm going to jinx myself here, for the first hunt of the year, I shot ridiculously well. I surprised myself. Oh, man, I hadn't shot much this summer. We had some family stuff going on, and I was in Iowa with my family most of the summer, which really cut into my shotgun shooting practice that I had planned. And I thought I'm going to be super rusty, but I did get a chance to go over and bang clays with the guys at Weatherby a few weeks ago and play around with some of the stuff that they've got coming out. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to shoot the Weatherby Orion matte over and under with the 2 3/4 inch Federal Premium heavy bismuth 5s. I'm not going to take long shots. It's early season. Let's go for it. Wow. I ran an improved cylinder and modified choke. It's kind of my go-to in and over and under for just about everything. And let the kids shoot first. And the first several birds that they shot, laugh about that, they missed. They did a lot of missing. I didn't shoot. And then my wife said, if you want the dog to get some work and we want to eat some ducks, you better start shooting. So I did. And long story short, I ended up going 6 for 6 with the Weatherby Orion matte over and under and the Federal Premium heavy bismuth 2 3/4 inch 5s in the 12 gauge. I looked at my wife at the end of the morning and I was like, I don't think I missed. She said, no, you didn't. I was kind of keeping track. You didn't miss once. Like, that doesn't happen very often. Oh, man. As a testament to quality equipment, guys. Good shot shells, good shotgun that fits. So, yeah, thanks to Federal, thanks to Weatherby for that. I've had this happen before where I start the season like a house of fire, and all of a sudden by mid-season I, hit a slump and I can't hit anything, and I'm hoping that's not the case this year. Really hoping, but we'll see. But back to the kids. Let me get a drink.
Hey guys, this episode of the Wingmen podcast is brought to you by Mountain Seasonings. The folks down at Mountain Seasonings in Riverton, Wyoming have had my business since before I started working at Eastmans and way before Wingmen was even an idea in my head. I've been making homemade jerky and sausage and you name it, snack and sticks with their kits for a really, really long time. Having the pleasure a couple years ago to go down and take a factory tour and film that and do a duck hunt with one of the guys from the company, Brian Tucker, was a pleasure. They have such a cool operation down there in Riverton, Wyoming. And to think that their product from little old Riverton spreads out all over the country and into Canada is mind-blowing. I know they do business internationally as well, but it's incredible to me. I can go in so many different places, from the local grocery store to any of the big box sporting goods stores, and find that product. I can go in, I can grab a box, I can take it home, and I can, within 48 hours or 72 hours, I can have some of the best goose jerky known to man. I can put that on a plate, and you wouldn't know it's goose. I mean, a lot of guys be like, wow, this is amazing venison jerky. And it's like, hey, thanks. Yeah, you're eating goose. Like, what? This is goose? Thank you, High Mountain Seasonings. It's not just jerky kits, though, that those guys do. They have a whole ton of products. So I would recommend that you go over to highmountainjerky.com and check out the full assortment of products that they've got down there in Riverton, Wyoming.
And if you're wondering, yeah, that is a PSL, a pumpkin spice latte. I drink maybe one of those a year in the little coffee shop next door, Uncommon Grounds. Shout out there, guys. Makes a good one. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to have one for this podcast. So there we go. There was my $10 coffee today. Don't do that normally. Back to the kiddos, though. Had a great hunt, had a great time. We had done some practicing beforehand, on and off. They've killed turkeys successfully, but shooting a turkey with a break action 410 in the decoys with a red dot, it's a lot different, especially when you're trying to hold the gun up yourself. Because with the turkey thing in the blind, I have it in a bog death grip for them, so they don't have to hold it up because they're little. My 10-year-old can barely hold up her 20 gauge. I kind of have to help her with it a little bit, and my 8-year-old can hold up the break action 410 single shot just fine. It's a little one. So we went out. We've been doing some practicing, just stationary clay birds on the ground, and man, they crush them. 15, 20 yards. That's the distance. We're shooting at birds that have landed in the spread, and they just crush the clays. Just crush them. And I was like, okay, you're ready. Let's do this. And lo and behold, they had the wing shooter's curse. They can't keep their head down. They want to peek. They want to see the bird die. So the whole idea of bead, bird, bang, they're doing bead, bird, bang. And for you guys listening, not watching, I just lifted my head off the gun between bird and bang because they want to see it. 9 times out of 10 in wing shooting, if you're missing birds, you're probably peeking. You're probably peeking, not keeping your head down on the stock, and you're not following through. Those are the two cardinal rules, and they're very, very common mistakes that hunters make when they miss birds, myself included. So I'm beating this into the girls, bead, bird, bang, bead, bird, bang, bead, bird, bang. Keep your head down. And I don't know how many birds they missed. It was several. And they were having a great time shooting the gun, watching the birds. They're blowing their duck calls, feeding the dog donuts, it was hilarious. My wife and I really, really enjoy spending quality time in the duck blind with the kids. And for the first hunt of the year, it was low pressure, low expectation. Let's just go out, knock the rust off, and have a good time. And it was refreshing, guys, because there was no camera. There was no dudes to impress. There was no pressure. Is it going to be great today? Is it going to stink today? It was like, it's going to be what it's going to be. There were birds here yesterday, and we're going to go down and we're going to have fun. And it was a really good reminder that's probably how we should all approach all of our hunts. There were birds here. Let's go down and have fun. Let's go out and have fun. And if it happens, it happens. I am as guilty as the next guy, especially when I was a young man in my 20s. It was piles, and it wasn't a successful day if we didn't limit out 8 dudes in a goose field. what do we do wrong? What do we need to do better next time? And part of that is you're just young, and you're hungry for it. You're hungry for success, and you want to be good at it. And that self-reflection and ambition and drive is a good thing because it does make you better. But if it's the only thing you're focused on, which it never was for us, it was a big part of it. Killing birds was a big part of the deal, still is. But it was always, too, about having fun. And the older I get, don't hear me wrong, I still love making piles. I still love coming with the big strap full of ducks or geese or tailgate loaded with geese. I love that. That's why we waterfowl hunt. Partly. The other part of it is the camaraderie and the fun. And going out with the family, laughing, enjoying ourselves, kids wrestling in the blind. Yes, the guns were up. They were safe. It's just a ton of fun. So that was my opening day of Wyoming's first split. I've been out twice since then, both solo, just Hondo and myself, really trying to drill down into some steadiness with Hondo. He is super steady when, say I let Josh or Tyler or somebody else that you guys have seen and have heard do the shooting, and I'm just handling the dog. He's a rock. He's great. Doesn't break. But when I pull up to pull the trigger, it's 50-50. Usually the first couple times he's going to go, and then he remembers, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to stay here. And so I drilled down and worked on some of that. I won't say that I didn't shoot poorly. I didn't shoot well. I shot okay. Both of the second times there weren't as many birds. Kind of interested in going out this Sunday to see what we've got. We had weather. I have not hunted since the big push. The big storm we got that loaded the mountains with snow. I have been out. I have been driving around, and that's how I can give you a scouting report, a flyway report. I've seen what's around and more birds. And if it's Thursday right now, the 9th, if the weather that's coming is any indication of what's going to do to the birds. Cranes are usually one of the first things to migrate through in big numbers through here, and that's usually followed within days or sometimes a week or two of big numbers of mallards, and then the geese come after. And all morning, whenever I've been outside of the office, there's cranes flying over. Big masses, big V's of cranes. And so I think we're going to be in for a cool down. I think we're going to be in for some pretty good hunting. You guys that are down south, I hope you get some more birds this year. But it's happening. If you can get out this weekend or this week, I think you're going to, in the northern tier states especially, I think you're going to see some phenomenal hunting. I really do. It's supposed to be rainy, which for us here in Wyoming, anywhere in the western states, I don't like bad weather to hunt ducks on water. Let me rephrase that. I love snow when I'm hunting. I love like a blizzard and extreme cold when I'm hunting dry field sets. Because a lot of times our birds are nocturnal, and our ducks especially are nocturnal, and they just don't feed during the day unless you get the weather to push them. So that's that caveat. Otherwise, especially this time of year, I don't particularly care for those duck weather days that are like the classic duck hunter's dream. I'm not saying they don't stir my blood. I have a hard time not being out in the rain and in the weather, especially with the good gear that I have from Kryptek, but our birds decoy and fly and work better when it's bright and when it's windy. Not extreme wind, but good breeze, 10 to 15 miles an hour, really creates motion. And if it's bright and sunny, there's shadows to hide in, and the ducks, it makes your decoys pop, and the ducks really, really decoy to them. It was really interesting on opening day. We were in shadow, and because of the way the current is on the river right now, I had to put decoys close to the bank. The sweet spot where the birds wanted to be was right close to the bank, right almost below the blind. And the problem with that was early in the morning, there were a lot of birds that would fly by and not see the decoys. And I would hail call to them, and it was about 50-50. 50% of those birds would break, and if I could get them to break and look real close, then they'd see the decoys, then they would work in. But when we really had birds decoy, hard decoy, is when the sun got higher in the sky and it started to hit some of the decoys that were out a little bit. I had a few in a pocket kind of out in front and a couple and some full bodies staked into the mud on the edge of the riverbank. And when the sun hit those decoys, they popped. And as soon as that happened, they had birds sneaking in and landing that I didn't even see. We had birds that would fly by. I'd hit them with a hail, and they'd look and just set and come right in. Sun is our friend out here. I think it is everywhere, personally. For decoying birds, it's easier to hide when there's shadows. And obviously everybody knows that wind, if you don't have wind, your birds it's tougher. So it's going to be interesting. It's hard not to hunt those gray, nasty, drizzly duck weather days, but 9 times out of 10, you hunt when you can hunt. If you only get to hunt on the weekends, you hunt the weekends. If you get Monday and Wednesday or Monday and Tuesday off, you hunt those days. You hunt when you can. The weather is what it is. But, man, if you can pick, hunt right after a big weather system has rolled through. And that's exactly where we are at, where the northern tier of states is at right now. When I say northern tier, I mean in the central flyway, my flyway, you're looking at Montana, North Dakota, northern South Dakota, and parts of Wyoming. You hear Wyoming's gotten popular. The West, waterfowling in the West has gotten popular the last few years, and people think, I get questions all the time. I want to come to Wyoming and hunt ducks, and I'm like, well, honestly, guys, it's tough. It's a tough place to freelance. First of all, it's a great place to go with an outfitter. It's a tougher place to freelance because the habitat is so small here. It is not like the Dakotas. It's not like Michigan or Minnesota or Wisconsin where there's water everywhere and there can be birds anywhere. Not the case out here at all. Montana, kind of similar, but Wyoming's even drier than Montana, and the habitat's very small. It's centered around rivers, and honestly, in Wyoming, there's only, I'd say probably I could count on one hand the number of areas or places in the state where the waterfowl hunting is, worth pursuing. It's not a waterfowl state. Do we have birds? Yep, we do. So when I say the northern tier states regarding a flyway report, that's kind of how I'm referring to it. Obviously meaning mostly North Dakota. On the subject of North Dakota, I promised you a PSA, public service announcement. I'm going to have a sip of my PSL, and then we'll keep going. And I think she put like 3 or 4 extra shots of espresso in that. I needed it, though. Anyway, PSA about bad behavior in the waterfowl community. There's been a lot of stuff posted online, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, just people being, man, I got to watch my mouth here, people being jerks, people being stupid and ignorant to one another. And guys, I got to be honest, the hotbed of this is North Dakota right now. And I understand why that is, because that's where the good bird hunting is. That's where the good waterfowl hunting is right now. And guys have figured North Dakota out. 10, 15 years ago, you didn't hear, everybody knew there were ducks in North Dakota, but the freelancing of North Dakota was, nobody did it. I shouldn't say nobody, but not as many people did it then as they do now. And, I think we have social media to thank for that. I think we have YouTube to thank for that. We have ourselves to thank for that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have not seen an uptick in pressure in the places that I have put on film. Even though you try not to show exactly where you're hunting and you don't hotspot, you don't give out locations, people figure things out. And I've seen pressure increase. We've seen pressure increase with population growth. Wyoming's the smallest state by population-wise. It's the smallest state in the country still by a wide margin. But we have grown since COVID. And what that has done is it has put pressure on the waterfowl hunting resource. I'm glad folks are getting out. I'm glad folks are getting out and enjoying it. I'm glad they're buying federal ammunition and Weatherby shotguns, and binoculars and scopes from Leupold and jerky seasoning kits from High Mountain. And that's awesome. That's awesome. But with the increase in hunter numbers comes a greater responsibility to be good stewards of the resource and of the sport itself. And yeah, it's a sport. Maybe not an athletic contest, but it's a sport. The bad behavior that I'm seeing rolling out of North Dakota this year is appalling. And I'm not naming names. I'm not pointing fingers at any one person, guys, because I think it happens a lot. I think it happens a lot across all of the different flyways, but it seems like North Dakota is a hotbed for it because it's kind of the Wild West for waterfowl hunting. It's become a hot spot. It's become a destination for good reason. There's a lot of birds there. It's the duck factory of the United States. That in South Dakota. But due to management style differences, South Dakota, you have to draw a waterfowl permit. You can't just go hunt. In North Dakota, you can just go hunt. Access is pretty easy to get for the most part. There's not a ton of leased up ground there. So there's a lot of freelance capability in North Dakota. And with that comes competition. And with competition, unfortunately, when it comes to killing birds, geese and ducks, competition a lot of times brings out the worst in people, not the best in people. Guys blowing roosts at night, blowing roosts that because they couldn't get permission on the feed. Somebody else had permission already, so they go and blow birds off the roost in the middle of the night. Guys calling game wardens on people, false, fake reporting that they're trespassing, setting up, downwinding guys, where they're setting up, within 150 yards downwind in the same field. I think I said that wrong. Downwind. Yeah. Downwinding guys. Basically cutting them off of their approach. Pass shooting birds coming into a feed that they can't get permission for, but somebody else already does. Verbal altercations on county roads and in little towns and in bars and restaurants and hotels. Guys, the stories coming out of North Dakota are appalling. Shape up. It's ridiculous. We are better than that. And if we want to maintain what we have as a hunting community, we need to police our own ranks. We need to call out bad behavior and bad actors. And if push comes to shove, kick them out of the hunting club. Kick them out of this brotherhood of hunters, of waterfowlers. Don't watch their stuff on YouTube. Don't interact with them on social media. Unfollow them. Report them. Block them. Because I will guarantee you this. The people, I told you I'd get upset. A lot of the folks that are the biggest offenders are doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it for piles. They're doing it for popularity. They're doing it for the gram. They're doing it for YouTube. And yeah, I guess you could call me an influencer. I don't see myself as such, but I do fit that mold, a content creator, an influencer. I despise those terms, but at the same time, I know that in a nutshell, that's who I am. That's what I do. Like I said earlier, there's a massive responsibility that comes with that. Massive responsibility. We are to be the best, not the best callers, the best shooters, the best hunters. We're supposed to have the best ethics. We're supposed to be the best. We are the representatives of the sport. We are what the public sees. We are what the landowners see. And when we're out there doing dumb stuff and putting it on social media, guess what that does? That creates a black eye for everybody. So a spot in North Dakota that 15 different groups of dudes are fighting over, all of a sudden the landowner goes, you know what? I'm done. And nobody gets to hunt it. Nobody gets to hunt it. And we've created an enemy instead of an ally because we can't work things out. We can't act like grown men and talk about things and be like, you know what? Yeah, man, you guys were here first. We'll go find someplace else. Or, hey, man, there's only 3 of us. You guys got 3? Why don't you jump in with us, man? You know, we got permission. Let's hunt together and be safe. Do a safety briefing, guys. That's another thing. Kyle Jones, this is a shout out to you, man. And I've been trying to get Kyle on the podcast for a while and it just hasn't worked out. Kyle made a post the other day on Instagram. It might have been TikTok. I don't remember. I don't do TikTok. He's talking about gun safety. That's a real thing this time of year. And I was talking about my kids wrestling in the blind the other day. They could wrestle in the blind because the guns were put up and unloaded. And we're shooting birds that decoy and land. I have time to load a shotgun for the kids. No chance of them having an accident in the blind. But guys, this time of year, we hear horror stories from goose fields and duck blinds where people are not paying attention to what they're doing. It's not safety third, it's safety first. Pay attention. Stop being an idiot. And if somebody in your group's being an idiot, call them out on it. Dude, your safety's off. Dude, your gun's wobbling on the side of the blind. Dude, the dog's going to come through. Or, hey, guys, my dog, he might come running through here, just FYI. Have stuff set up right. I go back to the North Dakota stuff, guys competing. Some of the best folks that I have met in the hunting world, I have invited over into my blind or into my spot because they were by themselves or there was 2 of them or 3 of them and we didn't have 5, 10, 6, 8 guys. We could add them in. Come on, man, hunt with us. We're, safety first, give a safety briefing, and then watch them. But come and hunt with us. I've met some great people doing that. I have been invited to hunt with other people. Hey, man, why don't you slip in here with us? I saw you're by yourself. There's only 2 or 3 of you. Come jump in with us, man. Let's do that. Let's do more of that. Stop fighting over feeds and figure it out. That's some alliteration for you from a former English teacher, guys. For those of you watching this, my face is pretty serious right now because it honestly, to be quite frank, it pisses me off. I don't get it. I don't get it. I've had my share of altercations with landowners, especially when I was young. You talk to one person that on the farm and they give you a yes, and then the uncle comes out, nobody's allowed to hunt here, and well I talked to so-and-so, and that happens. That happens. When you're freelancing and door knocking, that happens. But to fight over a spot or to sabotage people, to blow birds off a roost because you're a pouty little brat and you couldn't get permission first, knock it off. Knock it off. Act like a grown man and be a decent human being and be a good representative of hunting and a good steward of the resource, guys. We owe that to the ducks and the geese that we hunt. We owe that to the pheasants and the grouse and the chuckers and the woodcock that we hunt. We owe that to bird hunting. We owe that to waterfowl hunting. We owe that to upland bird hunting. This idea that I got to get mine, wrong. We need to get ours. We need to have each other's backs. We need to be decent human beings and respect each other and stop being stupid. Man. Yeah, that's my rant, guys. And I was trying to avoid a rant, but it is what it is. Just disappointing seeing what I'm seeing come out of North Dakota. And I've got a couple buddies that live up there, and I've called them and talked to them, and like, yeah, it's as bad or worse than what you see on social media. And it's just dumb. It's just dumb. There's no call for it. What that does, guys, is it creates issues in states like North Dakota, and it honestly, it creates issues to the point where states like North Dakota go, you know what? Our neighbor to the south has it figured out. We're not going to do non-resident hunts anymore. Just free-for-all non-resident, unlimited non-resident hunting. We're going to make it a draw system. And guess what? You're going to cut the amount of hunting pressure in North Dakota in half when you do that. Yeah, and you're going to mitigate these issues that are happening. But why does it have to get to that point? Is it just human nature that we're jerks to each other about things that we're competing over? You know, don't be surprised if this behavior continues in North Dakota and it continues to ramp up and landowners continue to be upset and Game and Fish continues to be called out and law enforcement continues to have to be called out to put down squabbles in fields and stupid petty arguments over birds. North Dakota's going to shut down. They're going to shut it down. They're going to say, you know what? South Dakota's got it dialed. We're going to do the same thing. And 50% of you or less, I mean, what if they say, you know what? We're only going to give 500 waterfowl licenses for non-residents in North Dakota. That's it. Now, I know what you're saying. What some of you are already thinking this. Well, they wouldn't do that because of the economic impact. In our day and age, where hunting and Second Amendment rights are under egregious attack from every side, you don't think that game and fish departments that have been infiltrated by left-leaning, liberal, anti-hunting biologists, land managers, non-game biologists, even law enforcement? Yeah, it's happened. It's happening now. Look at Washington State. Look at Oregon. Look at California. Look at Colorado. Guys, I could go on and on and on and on and on. The biologists and that they are pumping out of today's colleges are very anti-hunting, very anti-gun. Why do you think that they're reintroducing predators in massive numbers across the western states and the northern Great Lakes states? Why do you think it is that Arkansas has had 2 people killed by black bears in the last, 6 weeks? It's crazy. It's because predator management is the way that the anti-hunting groups end sport hunting. It is. And when we act like fools out there, we're cutting our own throats. We are on the same team. Act like it. Figure it out. Yeah, Game and Fish, North Dakota Game and Fish officials, don't take this as me telling you need to, cut your non-resident tags to a draw and cut it to 500 opportunities. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying, guys, don't be surprised when that happens, because that's how states will respond. And when it's in states like North Dakota, non-resident bird hunters make a big impact on the economy. But you mark my words, the leftist agenda to end all hunting does not care about economics. It does not care about animals. It just cares about ending hunting. And in the ultimate agenda, disarming the United States. Yeah, we need to do better. We need to do a lot better. And I know it happens all across the United States. It happens down south. You know, I hear horror stories coming out of the public timber in Arkansas. You know, but dude, we got to be better. We got to be better, because if we're not freelancing, public hunting, just the opportunities for the average Joe, as limited as they already are just going to keep slipping away, and it's going to get to the point where all hunting is private. And if you don't have something leased or you don't belong to a club, you ain't going to hunt, period. I don't care what it is. It's already going that way. I hate the fact that I have to lease ground. It chafes. I chafe under that, but it's the reality of what we do. And I try to make sure that on the leases that we don't lease a lot, but on the leases we do maintain, that I try to work in folks, you know, a dad calls, wants to take his kids out. Yeah, go. Here's an Onyx pin for the blind. Just put things back the way you found them, please. Pick up after yourselves. Pack it in, pack it out. I like to be able to do that. Because, man, I remember a day and age growing up where I didn't have to ask permission for anything. I just went and hunted. Yeah, there was stuff I knew that you weren't allowed on. Everybody knew that. I was like, oh, don't go on, you know, Miss Greentree's place. She'll call the cops on you. But that was rare. That was super rare. Most of the time, it was just go wherever you wanted. And those days are gone. I understand those days are gone. And, yeah, we're worse for it. But it can get worse than where we're at now, too, guys. Look at Europe. Look at Europe. That's where we're headed. And I'm telling you right now, Europe is 10 to 15 to 20 years ahead culturally in every aspect of humanity than North America. Canada's usually 5 to 10 years ahead of the U.S. If it happens there, it's going to happen here. Well, guess what? And when we act like idiots out on the prairies in North Dakota, competing and doing stupid things, we're slitting our own throats. So anyway, doom and gloom. Yeah, I started it off with a nice little flywheel report and a nice breakdown of opening of waterfowl season for us and how much fun I had and how well I shot, and the dog did good and it was fun. I'm telling you guys, have fun. But I just can't let it slide. I can't let the crap that I'm seeing on social media just slip, because it's got to end. It's got to stop. Be better. If you're listening to this podcast and you think I'm full of it, you're part of the problem. If you're listening to this podcast and you think, man, Todd, you're spot on, share it with somebody. Tell somebody. Be a role model. Be a good actor that people can look up to. I try really hard, and I am not a perfect person. There's no such thing. There's one perfect man to walk this earth, and his name was Jesus Christ. I'm not him, no matter how hard I try. Anyway, I'm super excited. Let's switch gears. Another sip of the PSL. Get me back on track. That's better. Man, that's good. It's good. Anyway, back on track. Super excited to see where this season goes. We've got till the 15th. Our first split ends the 15th. I'm going to get out at least one more time with the fam, with the kiddos. And then it's deep into the big game grind for me. Got to get I need to get at least 2 or 3 elk knocked down. I got 1 pronghorn buck in the freezer, thanks to the guys at Weatherby, and some whitetails to shoot, maybe a mule deer buck. We'll see, but get the big game stuff squared away, get everything processed and butchered, and then get after these birds, man. And I am stoked. It's going to be a great year. I love the weather pattern that we've got coming. I think everybody should be looking hard and like, man, be watching your flyway reports. Be go out and drive around in the evening or in the morning before work. See what's out there, because we got birds. We got birds, and it's going to be good. It's going to be a great year. I'm super stoked for it. Got a pup date, I guess, for you guys. Rooster, Hondo's son Rooster. He's coming along great, retrieving. He's bird crazy. We're working on the crate training, working on steadiness, working on obedience right now. A little bit of introduction to gunfire, a little bit of introduction to water. Loves the water. He's a machine. He's definitely his dad's son. So not going to hunt him until he's 2. Going to let this first year go by and really drill down into the training. Really, really drill down hard. He's super smart. I'm seeing some incredible things out of him. You know, we'll take him out and get him in the duck blind, but we're not going to hunt him. And if he fetches a duck or 2 this winter, cool, but there's zero pressure. He just want to get him loving it. Great little dog. Huge shout out to my buddy Josh Lancaster at Red Flats Retrievers. Dude's running a great program. If you guys are looking for a Labrador Retriever, he's got you. He's got you covered. Especially in that Fox Red department. He's got Red Labs, guys, and I know the Red Lab is kind of the cool thing right now. He's got them, and his are very good. So we've had him on the podcast a bunch. Check out those episodes. Again, guys, thank you for joining me. Thank you for bearing with me. This was a bit of a rant today. At least that's what it turned into. I blame the extra espresso shots in my pumpkin spice latte. That's embarrassing to even say that I'm drinking one of those, but yeah, it's good. I like it, so whatever. Go get yourself a PSL. Go do something good. Go do something good for somebody. Go be an advocate. Go be an asset to our sport. Go be an asset to humanity. Go spread the love for waterfowl hunting that made you fall in love with it. And let's just be better. Because, guys, I tell you what, if it continues on the path that I'm seeing it on right now, and this is just the beginning of the seasons, wow, it will disappear. It will be taken from us. So, word of the wise, thank you for listening. Thank you for putting up with my rant. Get out there, shoot some birds, have a good time, and be an asset to humanity. And until next time, we'll see you in the field.